my husband walked in and he had our daughter strapped to his chest and he said, I have to go out. And I said, you have to do something. I don't know what it is, but you have to do something. And he turned white and he looked really scared. And I said, I can promise you I'm not going to do anything to myself while you're gone. And I can even promise you I can make it through another night, but that's really it.
One of the big misconceptions with postpartum depression is that everybody knows that it's there, and so everybody has access to appropriate care and treatment.
I was really connected to my daughter from the beginning. We had this really intense bond, and I'd heard about postpartum being this disconnect from your kid, and I'd heard about it being depression.
This happens to thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of women every year.
Women are the deciders about health care and how their mood goes and their emotional state goes, so goes the rest of their family.
The legislature encouraged us to pull together volunteer stakeholders so that we could actually do the work that they intended for the state to do.
In the past, you had an extended family around, you had your neighbors and the neighbor's older daughter, and you had your own older daughter. You had lots of support. You also didn't have two parents that had to go back to work. So many families are even single-parent families today.
Was put on some medication by my OB to boost milk supply, which it did, but I still was only making like 2 ounces. And one of the side effects is it increases anxiety.
It's interesting because it isn't just a sad depression. You think about depression as being, tearful and sad, but actually postpartum depression very often is an anxious depression. You're worried, you can't sleep, the baby's asleep, and you're going, oh my God, I gotta sleep, and you can't fall asleep.
I still didn't think it was postpartum depression because it wasn't depression. I'd had depression before and it didn't feel like that.
What we find is that less than half of women get screened and identified who have mental health issues during and after pregnancy, and that because of the stigmas in our culture around depression and anxiety, many women go untreated and lack the supports that they really need.
I happen to have this pamphlet in one of the many handouts that I'd gotten from my doctor that I came across, and it said that some of the symptoms of PPD is are insomnia and anxiety and panic attacks. And I was like, well, that's what I have.
Women should absolutely have a conversation with their doctor, but there's also numerous other ways they can get support, including through Postpartum Support International. We're also encouraging the formation of more moms groups and support groups and birth classes and reimbursement for birth classes so that moms can find each other, support in each other, and also have direct access to folks that really can recognize that there's a problem and get them help.
I think the big difference now versus what you might have experienced before is that there are so many ways to anonymously start to understand, okay, am I having normal responses to the issues that I'm experiencing? Or maybe am I having something that could be borderline clinical issue? And so being able to get online and enter postpartum depression into Google and see Postpartum Support International or Catherine Stone's blog and really just access that community anytime you want to without having to sort of step forward and say, I am person so-and-so and I might have some problem.
I had to get out of the house and I went for this walk. I call my crazy walk because I had to stop thinking about not being able to sleep and what it was doing to me and how there was no way to escape from this circumstance because the source of my anxiety wasn't going anywhere. It was this baby, was here to stay forever. And I was thinking, we had hired this night nurse to try and help us with some sleep training, and she'd fostered kids, and I was thinking, maybe she'd take her, maybe she'd... It was about 10 hours to get checked in. And they put me in a little side room, like a holding room, for people who are going through some kind of disconnect from reality. And I dragged all my stuff out of the room, went into the quiet room, and slept for 8 hours. The miracle of sleeping for 8 hours, having not slept for 4 days at all, and maybe an hour or two for the month before that, was, I don't even know how to describe the miracle of that happening and the miracle of the effect. Because when I woke up, I landed back in my body. I knew I was gonna be okay. I knew I was myself. I knew that this nightmare was gonna end. And my husband came in for visiting hours around 11, and he took one look at me, and his eyes filled up with tears. And he said, "You're back."
When your friends have a baby,
And
you want to talk to them and ask them how they're doing. Ask them how they're feeling, if they're feeling like they're on top of things, if they're feeling like they're getting overwhelmed. Because you may be the person who's going to be the biggest help to that mom.